Hey, all my jewelry making friends. Excited to show you a new chain link design. I love this for all kinds of projects. It's a classic. It's been around forever. It looks great in everything that you might think you'd like to use it for. Something else that is wonderful to do with this project, because it uses just minimal cuts of wire, it's great to use your leftover wire. Bust through some beauties that they're still good. They still have life in them. They just need a project to be made into. Believe it or not, each one of these links, and I've timed it, only takes 20 seconds to make. So in theory, 7 minutes, you have created every single link for a great looking bracelet. All there is left to do is put it together, and I'm going to show you how to do both. Some simple tools that you're going to need to make this super simple chain. Basic supplies, flush cutters. I'm using a 6-step bail making pliers, some chain nose pliers, definitely a ruler. And today for this example, I'm going to use some 18 gauge. Play around, see what gauge that you might like to do. Like I said before, 20 gauge makes a nice, delicate chain, and this one is 16. I would love to see this in even a thicker gauge for a man, but the 16 would go for a man as well. Love that. So those are your supplies. Let's get started. I wanted to show you a close-up of this link of what it actually is. It's kind of a mind game to try to figure out what it's doing, but it's really easy and effective in making repeating pattern that just really looks so lovely. I have pre-cut several pieces of 1.5 inch 18 gauge wire. You choose the gauge that you would like to work with. I would suggest 18, 20, something like that, so that it has some strength. You know, it's not going to bend all up into a clump on you, but it's not going to be super hard to bend just until you get familiar with how the link works and you build some muscle memory, and it just becomes, you don't even have to think about it. Now that we have several pieces cut out beforehand, you're going to kind of turn this into an assembly line. Grab your ruler. I have my handy dandy Smokey the Bear ruler that I've had since I was in grade school, but hey, it works. Why get rid of it? Take your piece, and I don't set it right down on the ruler. I kind of hold it above the ruler so I can slip in my pliers underneath, and that's how I do this. We're going to want 1/4 inch on this one end, so I just kind of find any inch marker, hold my wire over top, slide in my pliers right at an inch mark with 1/4 inch hanging over. See that? Grab it, and don't try to bend the short piece. Bend the long end to come around and meet that short end. Just like that. And then what you're going to want to end up with is the short end needs to come in and lay on the side of the longer piece. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking there. Once the link is finished, you won't even notice. This end will be tucked inside the link. So that's what we're going for. The second step is to take this, as we see it here, put your pliers on here up against that loop. And again, we're not going to just wrap around the whole bail. We're just going to take the long end of this wire and wrap it around to meet that first loop. If you just wrap around both ends, you end up squishing this end of this first loop, and it damages the whole link. So all you're doing is wrapping around that long end. And of course, I'll show you again. Now, this is a beginner friendly version of this link, meaning that we're going to have to cut pieces away. This allows for some wiggle room. It allows for, I made it too short, I made it too long. You always know that you have enough wire on this. Now, if you want even less waste and you're more of an expert, 1 1/4 inches will do you. But I went ahead and cut 1.5 inches so that we would have plenty of room to work with. I'm placing my flush cutters on the end of this long wire just inside the loop. the first loop that we made. We're going to snip that off, and we are going to take, you can take bent nose pliers or your chain nose pliers, and we are going to tuck this into that loop, pretty much over to that left side, if you can get it in there. Just tuck it into that corner, if you will. And this little opening here is going to be where the next link slides in. All right, let's make another link. Again, we have our 1.5 inch piece of wire, holding it over your ruler or whatever you would like to measure with. Slide in your pliers at any inch marker so that you have 1/4 inch hanging over one end. Don't try to bend the short end, just bend the long end. Bend it around to meet and tuck that short end just on, sitting on top of what we just pushed around. And you get something like that. Second step is to take the same pliers, set it right in there next to our loop. We're not bending around the bail, we're only wrapping this long end coming around to meet the first loop. As you can see, this is beginner friendly. We have a little left over, but that is fine. We can trim that. Flush cut that just so that it sits inside the first loop that we made. This time we're going to leave it open. Don't tuck it down yet. Grab your first link that you made, and it's all, I want you to look to see how I have it sitting here. You got to get them to go the same way. That is super important. So you're going to take that first link and slip the long end that we haven't tucked down yet into the first link. And that's really all there is to it. Of course, I'm going to do a few more just so you know exactly what I was doing. Take your bent nose or your regular chain nose pliers and tuck that down in there on the left side of the link. Let's do another one. Another piece of 1.5 inch 18 gauge is what I am using. We're wrapping around the smallest bail, holding over the ruler so that 1/4 inch hangs over. Wrap around the long end to meet the short end, just so the short end is laying on top of what we just wrapped around. Second step is to use the same small bail on there like that. Only push the long end of the wire around to meet the first loop. Don't tuck it all the way down yet. We're going to leave it open. You see, there's this opening. Leave that there. And I would suggest do a whole bunch of them. Just do a whole bunch of these before you start trying to connect them all. Get your chain that we're already building. Hold it so that they are matching. They're going the same direction. And then slide that in there. Super easy. All right, we're going to trim this down just so that it is going to nestle down into that first loop, trimming off the end. Take your bent nose or chain nose and tuck it down into the corner. There's not a corner, but we're going to imagine that's a corner. There you go. We've got 3 links already. 3 links makes just over, 1.25 inches. So once you get proficient, you're going to find that you can make one of these links, and I timed it in about 20 seconds. Wow. So you possibly could make a 7-inch bracelet in 7 minutes. So this is a super easy way to build a fun beginning to a necklace or a bracelet. Really wonderful, classic design that just looks great on anything. A final step that I will take is run this through a tumbler and just get it all nice and polished up. Any kind of, I don't feel any, but in case there is any of the little ends that are slightly sticking out, it'll just soften everything and polish it up. and it will be absolutely perfect. I will post a picture of a tumbler, what I'm talking about, and have a link for it down in the description. I loved having you along for another great video. Just being with you, hearing your comments, your suggestions is the world to me. I so enjoy being back with you every single week and sharing this jewelry journey and learning something new. See you in the next video.